Hello students, this is Dr. Anit Acharya, Professor, Department of Homeopathic Metramedica from Jai Jalaram Homeopathic Medical College, Godhra. Today we will be talking about role of homeopathy in doping. So we will be discussing about what is doping, how we will be differentiating doping in athletes, what is the difference between games, contests and events. Today's section 1 is based on understanding doping in sports. So under this section we will be talking about the following points: what is games, contest and sports, definition of doping in sports, history of doping in sports, different ways of doping, reasons athletes resort to doping, overview of the World Anti-Doping Agency, that is WADA, and its guidelines, and anti-doping rule violations. Now what is play? The play is something when we are into a recreation, we are involved into a play, and play can be divided into two different varieties, that is a spontaneous play, just like we are throwing a stone in water and looking for who is throwing at a longest distance. That is a spontaneous play because that is for the recreation. But when, for example, we are making it in a organized, that means we are going for a rules and regulations of that particular play, it is called as games. Now games is further divided into two parts, that is a non-competitive game and a competitive game. That means suppose there are two teams and now we are looking forward who is throwing at the maximum range. So if it is a non-competitive games, it is just a recreation part, but if it is a competitive games, it is under the topic contest. Now the contest is further subdivided into an intellectual contest that we see in chess, and when we are physically involved with the contest, it is termed as sports. Now what is sports? So till now we discussed about how to differentiate, and coming to the point of sports. Now sports can be defined as an autotelic, that is played for their own sake, and it is a physical contest. Introduction of doping. Now the word doping is coming from a Dutch word means dope. The dope is actually a soup that is reference to practicing or providing the race horses with opium mixture that used to be acting as a stimulant for enhancing the victory of the competitive animal. Now in sports doping, it is usually referred to how the stimulation have been given to raise the performance in sports, and particularly it was being used for animals and also in the humans. So that was originally started with the Greek and Romans. What they were used to in a habit of doing, there was a term of which was called as ergon and genin. The ergon means to work and genin means to produce. So it was a way to enhance the capacity to perform. Now the definition that was being given by the International Olympic Committee IOC about the word doping was, they considered it to be an expedient, that means a substance which was potentially harmful for the health of the athletes, and secondly it was used to enhance their performance, and it was also being use of prohibited substance or having evidence of use, or they were find about the evidence of use for a prolonged time. Performance enhancing substances. The use of performance enhancing substance were originally being used by the Norwegian warriors that were called berserkers. They used the fortified themselves with the use of psychoactive mushrooms. That psychoactive mushrooms were being used for their trance behavior because they were very brutal in killing people, and secondly by the indigenous tribes of South Africa, they use a local liquor named dope which were acting as a stimulant, and from there the word doping have been used. Now coming to the history of doping. Now the history of doping was ancient Greeks used a wine concoctions which was being prepared by the heart and the testicles of the animals for enhancing their performance. The athletes in mid-19th century, they started experimenting with the chemical portions which were used, like using a sugar cube that was dipped in ether, brandy laced with cocaine, nitroglycerin and amphetamines. Now in 100 CE, the Roman gladiators used the stimulants and also the hallucinogen to prevent fatigue and injury. Now what they used to do, the chariot racers used to feed their horses with hydromel. The hydromel was an alcoholic beverage that was made from honey to make the chariot run faster, and the gladiators used to ingest hallucinogen as a stimulant, such as strychnine was commonly used to stave off fatigue and injury and to improve the intensity of their fights. Then after 1860, Vin Maroni, that was a coca wine that was frequently being sold in France, containing about 8 milligrams of cocaine, and that was first being used as a doping agent. Even the race walkers in England used to chew coca leaves to impose their or improve their performances. The strychnine has been used in 1960 as a doping in sports. We'll be talking about events in doping. Now it started in 1904 to 20, where performance enhancing drugs were used in modern Olympic Games. In 1904, Olympic marathon runner Thomas Hicks were using a mixture of brandy and strychnine as a stimulant, which was found to be fatal, causing his death. Why? Because he was in a habit of using brandy and strychnine. At that moment, there was no chemical formula that was made that showed no deaths in the person who were using it. So the mixture of strychnine, heroin, cocaine and caffeine were being widely used by athletes and by the team members for a particular unique secret formula. So everybody was using their own combinations for making a secret formula for using it as a performance enhancing substance. This was quite common practice until heroin and cocaine became advisable and available only by prescriptions in the 1920s. In 1896, the first reported drug-related death was be seen where an English cyclist died of an overdose of trimethyl. In 1904, Thomas Hicks ran to victory in the Olympic marathon in St. Louis with the help of raw egg and an injection of strychnine and doses of brandy administration to him during the race. Later on, led to his death. In 1928, the first rule against doping in sports started. The International Association of Athlete Federation, IAAF, the governing body for the sport of track and field, became the first international sporting federation to prohibit doping by athletes. It was seen that time that the track and fields were frequently using the doping methods. The World War influence. It was World War II which greatly influenced the life of the athletes. Why? Because the use of amphetamines, which was introduced by the US troops to help them to keep them awake at the battlefront. In 1927, Fred Koch, an organic chemist at the University of Chicago, he developed a form of a testosterone by extracting the hormones from a bull's testicles and treating it with benzene and acetone. The substance produces aggressiveness. So basically, the testosterone was being used to create aggressiveness and for masculine characteristics in animals. The first reported use of the testosterone was being seen in humans, and it came during the World War II when the German troops were using it to enhance their aggressiveness in battles. And from there on, the anabolic steroids were started. In 1960, following the war, some sports people began to use amphetamines. Now, the Danish cyclist Kurt Jensen died from a heart-related illness at the Rome Olympics. In 1967, further indication of amphetamines problem was shown by the death of the British cyclist Tommy Simpson in Tour de France. Now, these deaths and the widespread allegations of drug taking led to the IOC to establish a medical commission in 1967 and to ban the use of pharmaceutical agents to enhance the performances. Now there comes the prohibition list. Now with the track and fields using too many of drugs and the cyclists of Tour de France, which were being stripped of lot many of medals because of the use of this drug, the IOC finally decided that there should be a prohibition list. And there was also an introduction of drug detecting test, that was sensitive gas chromatography. This technique was being found by Arnold Beckert in London. The IOC commenced drug testing in 1968 Olympics in Mexico. In 1975, IOC added anabolic steroids to its list of prohibited substances. 1983, caffeine and testosterone were added to the prohibited list. So every year a list was being added to the prohibited list. Every new drug was followed by death, and every death was being followed by the test to detect. So it was just like a Tom and Jerry cat race. Now there were many of scandals which was being seen by the use of these drugs. In 1984, Olympic members of the US cycling team admitted to blood doping. 1985, beta blockers, diuretics and glucocorticoids were added to the prohibited list of substances. In 1986, the IOC banned blood doping as a method in 1986, but since there were no reliable methods, it was not being officially declared. Because every time the blood doping has some new agents or the new substances or the new methods of use have been added. In 1988 at Seoul Olympics, the positive test results to anabolic steroids on 100-meter winner Ben Johnson. In 1990, injecting erythropoietin EPO was included in IOC list of prohibited substances, even though at that time the EPO detection test was based on combination of blood and urine analysis and was only developed in time with the Sydney Olympics in 2000. In 1998, a large number of prohibited medical substances was found in a raid during Tour de France. In 1990,